They said that it was simply age-related poor energy, reduced performance and a lack of enthusiasm yourself, which is typical after the age of 60. The doctor smiled half-heartedly. But he ended up in the emergency room 3 months later. Not due to a heart attack, but due to blood restrictions that are dangerously flowing in an area where no one had warned him. It was more than simply his legs and heart. His closeness and confidence down there, his link, everything in silent suggestions for senior citizens disappearing while everyone continued to accusing the "Hello, I'm Dr. James Holloway. I have spent more than 30 years assisting men in rebuilding their vitality, their health, and their partnerships that occur organically and without disgrace, and I have a message for you. Nobody else is arguing that growing older isn't the poor circulation is the issue, and the good news is you may take action right away. This is where the biggest surprise occurs. Eggs are typically thought of as breakfast. Perhaps even something to stay away from due of cholesterol, but suppose I mentioned that using eggs in this way allows them to truly aid in blood vessel opening, enhance flow where it's most important and bring back the intimacy you believed was gone. Yes, it seems straightforward, but what I'm about to demonstrate is founded on nutritious science that the majority of physicians still ignore, and men in their 60s and 70s are already benefiting from it. Even in their 80s, they feel more vital and connected once again, and I'll guide you through the precise process, why it functions, and how to utilize it responsibly. But I'll also demonstrate the one typical error that could totally block these advantages and explain why you obtain them. The correct thing makes all the difference. Distinction. So remain with me while I am about to reveal could potentially alter the way you glance at your morning meal and your future before moving forward. If this is useful to you, or you're just interested in finding out more about how to remain resilient, nimble, and connected after 60, press the subscribe button now. You can use this method to activate notifications. You won't miss another health-related revelation, created especially for men like you, and enter one in if you're still with me. If you don't enter 0 in the comments, I'm always going to want to keep getting better at listening. These messages for now that we've made it possible for you to this discussion, let's discuss what's actually taking place underneath the surface for a large number of males over 60 since prior to addressing the issue, we must recognize it as one of the most prevalent, but the most underappreciated, difficulties males face as they get older isn't simply exhaustion or performance changes or something deeper. Anything that has a subtle impact every bodily system is inadequate. Circulation, a typical challenge for men over 61, issue that many men over 60 face. Sadly, circulation at the start of my treatment, I observed a lot of males in their 60s and older. Nearly all of the men who sat across had some variation of the same. Quietly complaining, he would pause and glance down. Then utter a phrase like, "Doc, I simply no longer feel like myself." Initially, people would attribute it to age, shrugging as though this was simply the cost of living past the age of 60, but doing blood tests as I probed deeper, assessing cardiac function and making the appropriate inquiries, I realized the truth wasn't actually about age, it was about circulation that you observe as we age naturally. Blood vessels start to harden. The artery lining, the endothelium, loses its elasticity, accumulates, and the roads that transport nutrients and oxygen in every part of the body start to narrow. This occurs gradually, nearly undetectable, but it takes its toll, which you may experience in your. That coldness first affects the fingers and toes. That doesn't completely disappear, then you may have noticed a decrease in your energy earlier. During the day, taking a midday stroll seems heavier and more intimately exposed when it's most important to connect. Your body might react differently than it once. These aren't merely irritations. They're indications your body is attempting to communicate that anything that used to flow supported your muscles and mind, and now your intimacy isn't flowing easily anymore. And the annoying thing is that most men don't acknowledge that they are capable of change. They believe that their only choice is to acknowledge the decrease or depend on drugs that address the condition but not the reason. However, I want you to know that this path was traversed by thousands of men. Another way to help your circulation, you might naturally feel more powerful and clearer, and once more self-assured, and surprisingly, among the instruments that can assist you in accomplishing that isn't available in a prescription bottle. That's a big deal. Simpler than most of us ignored for many years, which leads me to what could be the most surprising aspect of this whole discussion about how something as commonplace since an egg could aid in sustaining your body's blood flow. Let me show you what I'm yearning for. What would happen if you were still here? Message is striking a chord with you. Send a number 1 in the remarks so I'm aware you understand me, and your reaction is helpful. Continue producing stuff that genuinely helps you now. Let's continue and go on to the next crucial point. The dangerous effects of inadequate circulation. 2 of the major dangers of inadequate circulation issues aren't limited to little annoyances. It's not something you only coexist because you've struck. I've had men enter my life at a certain age. The office is moaning about having a cold brain, fog, or experiencing instability when they rise too fast, but beneath certain signs, there's usually anything. The reality is far more serious. When the flow of blood isn't as believed to have an impact on almost every component of your body, the harm may spread far deeper than the majority of folks acknowledge. That your heart is the first organ to feel. When arteries get constricted or hardened, the heart must exert more effort to pump blood, which raises the risk of heart attacks due to high blood pressure despite persistent exhaustion. I recall one Robert, the patient, had been well all he worked out and ate what he believed to be a respectable diet. However, he felt exhausted all the time. It turned out that his arteries were extremely narrow. That his heart was beating in overdrive each and every day in order to meet essential needs. It's no surprise that he was worn out, followed by the brain. Reduced blood supply to the brain indicates reduced oxygen causes slower mental clarity, memory loss, and a hazy sense of who I am. I've heard males say it feels like they were residing behind glass. Though not entirely there, it's a dreadful sensation, particularly when you recall your former level of sharpness. And naturally, there is the profoundly personal cost of the affected blood vessels in sexual function. Are some of the body's tiniest indicates that they're frequently impacted. First, when blood flow is restricted, arousal turns challenging and performance is negatively impacted. Although more excruciating than the actual alterations is the emotional burden that I've sat with males who come with them. Consider themselves to have lost their sense of masculinity and mourn the portion in silence they believe that they are no longer there. Eternally. But this is what I tell them: impoverished being circulated does not indicate that you are broken. It indicates that your body is requesting assistance. Considering that assistance isn't always provided in the occasional shape of a prescription pad, it begins with making a minor adjustment. An everyday sight that you never pondered and decided whether to trust it or not. The next action to get back your power and re-establish life's flow through your body, even if you are just sitting in your kitchen, correct? 3 eggs are now just ignored. Eggs. Answer: if I had been informed 30 years ago that of the most effective instruments for replenishing the blood flow and energy in older males would be as straightforward as, like, an egg, I could have back then, like most doctors, I laughed. Followed the conventional wisdom to stay away from eggs are unhealthy for your cholesterol levels. Your arteries become clogged, yet with the years past, and as I delved farther into the actual human results rather than only laboratory data, saw a change, and I saw what occurred when mankind ceased to dread entire foods and began providing nourishment for their bodies and became more intelligent. Ways. That one patient will always be in my memory. Howard, a calm, proud 72-year-old, he approached me as a retired educator, not due to his illness, but because he felt he was less alive. He missed the sensation of strength. Missing sense of connection to his wife in the manner in which he used to discuss his routines, sleep patterns, and movements and meals, and I inquired as to what he consumed. Just coffee for breakfast, he remarked, and perhaps he had been eating a slice of toast for years. Advised to stay away from eggs due to cholesterol, so he accomplished anything that he was unaware of. How many don't forget that eggs include nutrients that provide direct assistance to vascular health and circulation. They include choline, which aids in preserving the blood vessel lining. The body uses arginine to create nitric oxide, a calming chemical that widens the arteries, which are abundant in B vitamins that support the blood's ability to transport more effectively, and when provided proper organic pasture-raised cattle, they might even include good fats that promote the equilibrium of hormones. When Howard was urged to bring eggs back to his morning, he got them ready. Something changed a bit in the proper way. A few weeks later, he returned grinning and said, "Doc, I had no idea that eating could make I felt this way once more." And he wasn't. Men who are alone across the nation are starting to unearth this forgotten food and understand that it's not the enemy but might possibly be an ally, but this is where things become complex. While eggs can be quite beneficial, there are proper and improper ways to. If you're not careful, a meal that has the potential to repair your arteries may be worsening the situation. Allow me to demonstrate what to avoid and how to maintain the effectiveness of this easy fix in your favor if you continue to watch, and I'm finding this information useful. Go ahead and enter the first number in the remarks, which inform me of your presence and ensure this message is reaching its intended location. Must now continue to go forward. With the fourth point, caution. 4 cautions on improper use of eggs can be damaging. It's amazing how something so easy can be either a strong instrument for healing or, if used incorrectly, a silent contributor to. Over the years, I have also witnessed harm. A man frequently heeds the advice to eat. Reintroducing eggs into his diet with additional whole foods diet, genuinely wishes to improve their health, but he unknowingly gets them ready in a manner that eliminates the advantages and truly works against his well. I recall a man named Tom who was 68. A tough as nails former contractor who came to me after consuming eggs for months. Once more, as he had heard they were good for him, but rather than resting, he felt even a bit heavier and more lethargic. More agitated, so we discussed how he was frying them in veggie oil. Oil like I always have, he remarked. There, we discovered the issue while cooking eggs in a lot of processed oils, such as soybean or canola. When using corn oil, you add a lot of oxidized fats entering your circulation. These oils, particularly when heated to inflammation is caused by elevated temperatures in the arteries, are precisely what we're attempting to prevent, in addition to the practice of combining eggs with sausage, bacon, or other processed foods, and now you're overrun with sodium nitrates in your body and saturated fats that cause blood vessels to narrow and raise your heart risk. Illness, followed by overcooking. Eggs are scrambled until they are dry, or they could be fried until the edges get brown. Be conventional, but it also ruins sensitive elements, such as B and choline vitamins are the very substances that help your brain and circulation and are lost in the I realize that the irony of heat is frustrating. You're making an effort to do things correctly, and without the proper direction, you may end up inadvertently working against yourself. But there's good news. Straightforward to solve with a few basic changes you may do to improve your morning eggs into a food that can actually heal. And that's precisely what we will discuss next. For those who have ever pondered what the healthiest method for making eggs is, the response will arrive, and it may amaze you with 5 secure and efficient uses for eggs that are safe and effective methods of use. Eggs. After you realize the possibilities that eggs contain and the dangers they pose, avoid misusing them. The obvious query is, so, how should I use them? That's what I enjoy talking about. Regarding the fact that when you cook eggs with care and intent, they transcend just food. They turn into fuel for your hormones, brain, heart, and your feeling of belonging to both the individuals you enjoy. What I frequently suggest to my patients is an easy yet effective place to start. 2 pasture-raised eggs to start your day, soft-boiled or poached with care, or slowly and haltingly scrambled in a tiny grass-fed butter or olive oil. This keeps the nutrients your body requires intact, such as the B vitamins, choline, and those beneficial amino acids that promote nitric synthesis of oxide. And don't stop there, add some sautéed kale or spinach. Abundant in beneficial natural nitrates, widen your blood vessels and cut them in half. An avocado to get good fats that help brain function and testosterone, and if you're game, add a little bit of black pepper and turmeric for an anti-inflammatory increase. It might not sound particularly ostentatious, appear miraculous, but wait 7 days. You might be surprised after just 1 week. I've heard men tell me how you feel. Their feet and hands feel more comfortable. One individual even claimed that his head felt sharper. Felt more personally connected to his wife after only a couple of breakfasts with purpose, which is the strength of circulation when blood is flowing freely. So does everything otherwise. This has nothing to do with dieting. Giving your body what it needs is the key. Must fulfill the purpose for which it was intended. Are you not attempting to reverse the clock? All you're doing is cleaning the walkways. It eventually became blocked, allowing your natural energy to return. And you've learned how to use this. It's time to use simple meals to your advantage. Must take a step back and consider the larger image, because, whereas eggs might be the initially, they are only a single component of a much aging truth, a bigger truth, fortitude, and the life that remains. Let's bring everything for you. Collectively, in conclusion, if I've learned anything, discovered following almost 30 years of strolling beside men in the later portions of their lives, it's this: your body never really stops trying to help you unless you initially give up on the difficulties. You encounter the icy hands after 60. Exhaustion, The silent annoyances behind closed doors, it's not your fault. They are messages, not signs of weakness. Indications that your body is requesting assistance with care and nutrition that goes beyond temporary solutions or temporary fixes. We started this adventure by discussing something as basic as an egg, so familiar and so commonplace that it's simple to ignore, but you now understand that it's not simply an egg provides you with choline. B vitamin vessels in your blood of heart-healthy amino acids and intimacy to function harmoniously once more, and when properly prepared, it can be a silent ally that gives you sensible strength and is linked not only to your body but also to your life. You've also discovered that impoverished circulation is more than just pain. It concerns your heart, brain, and your closest personal connections. Observed how quickly well-meaning intentions may flipped upside down due to improper cooking oils or customs inherited from generations that were ignorant. And above all, you now understand that healing is not impossible. It doesn't need a drastic diet or costly sometimes. Therapies begin with cook a few eggs and make a little adjustment. In the way you each take care of yourself, I've observed males altering their lives by altering only a handful of these minor nuances that don't happen overnight miraculously, but purposefully, with constancy and with the conviction that they had more to contribute to their families, to their spouses and to themselves. So after this video ends, I ask you to participate in a straightforward open your refrigerator, consider what you'll put in it. On your plate in the morning and consider what would occur if you ceased considering breakfast to be an afterthought and began to treat it like the start of something better. You and your partner are not finished yet. Let's keep the blood flowing, body. Continue living your life with this message if it resonated with you, if something about it caused you to pause and reflect. Then click like to do me a favor button so that more men can view it. Share this with a brother, friend, or someone you love who could be silently straining and in need of hearing. I'd love to hear that there is hope. From you sincerely, please write a comment below. Tell me if you tried this and how it made you feel. The distinction, or even if you're only beginning to focus more on your I read all of them, health, and your tale that could make someone feel less by itself, this is more than just a video, it's a dialogue between males who wish to live with a strong bond and goal. Let's continue working together.